I'm Riccardo Omodei, a researcher in criminal law at the University of Palermo.
And hello everyone, I'm Claudia Di Matteo, a PhD researcher at the School of Social Work at Lund University in Sweden.
We are both part of the Global Answer Project, and in the Global Answer Project, we are in charge of a part of the research activity in relation to the protection of the victims of human trafficking and of the vulnerable migrants in the migration phenomenon. And today we would like to talk to you about the protection of the victims of human trafficking in the Swedish legal system. I will try in the first part of this speech. I will try to underline some features of the international treaties that are involved in the human trafficking counteraction, and then Claudia will focus on the Swedish experience and on the changes of the Swedish policy in the protection of the victims of human trafficking. So, first of all, I would like to underline that I will talk just about two international treaties. The first is the Convention of Warsaw of the Council of Europe on human trafficking. The convention is a convention of the 2005, and the Council of Europe is a intergovernmental cooperation among European states, but is not part, obviously, of the European Union. And the other international treaty is the additional protocol to the Palermo Convention on transnational organized crime, and the additional protocol is devoted to the human trafficking phenomenon. I will start from the former. So the Convention of Warsaw of 2005, I will just spend a few words on this convention. Is a very important treaty about human trafficking because this convention created the new and the ongoing approach called the 4 Ps approach against human trafficking, an holistic approach that aims to counteract the trafficking phenomenon, not only from the criminal law point of view, but also from the point of view of the protection of the victim, of the prevention of the phenomenon, and also fostering the partnership between the states, that are involved in the trafficking phenomenon. And in fact, these 4 Ps are prosecution, prevention, protection of the victims, a partnership among the state parties of the convention. The Convention of Warsaw, just to say a few words on this treaty, is really focused on the protection of the victim, and all the entire third chapter of the convention is devoted to the measures to protect and promote the rights of victims, guaranteeing gender equality. And among the article in this chapter, one of the most important and an article that is today will be recalled in several ways is the recovery of the victims and the reflection period that a state should guarantee to the victims of the human trafficking. I have to admit that this Convention of Warsaw, yes, is very important in the international landscape, but is an evolution, we can say, of the first international law that decided to face the human trafficking phenomenon, that is the additional protocol to the Palermo Convention. The additional protocol is an additional protocol on human trafficking, and is linked to the Palermo Convention, that is the UN Convention on Transnational Organized Crime, signed in Palermo in the 2000s. So that's the reason why we call it Palermo Convention, obviously. And the link between the additional protocol and the Palermo Convention is very strong. And so all the discipline and all the regulation that the additional protocol provides against the trafficking has to be read from the point of view of the convention, and so from the point of view of the main purpose of the Palermo Convention. And obviously the main purpose of the Palermo Convention is counteract the transnational organized crime. In a world that is totally globalized, also the criminal organization became globalized. And so if you want to face a globalized phenomenon, you should find a globalized way, sorry for this repetition, to counteract this phenomenon. And so this is the main purpose of the Palermo Convention. We have to try to stop the criminal organization that act in the transnational world. In order to do that, the Palermo Convention decided to add 3 different additional protocols, and today we will just say a few words on the second of these 3 additional protocols, that is the one devoted to the human trafficking. So the human trafficking, from this point of view, is seen just as a market in which the criminal organization operates. And so from the point of view to contrast this criminal organization and to reduce the gains that the criminal organization can get from this market. And this is the point of view of the additional protocol. In fact, this additional protocol is mainly focused on the prosecution aspects of the human trafficking issue. And thanks to the additional protocol, we have the structure of the criminal offense. Just a few words, sorry, on the criminal offense. The structure of the criminal offense of human trafficking that now we can see in all the European countries' legislation, because it's a structure that has been taken also by the European Directive of the 2011 and also by the Convention of Warsaw of the 2005. This structure, just to say a few words, is according to the structure, the human trafficking offense is divided in 3 elements. The first is the conduct, the second is the means, and the third is the purpose. So we will have human trafficking if a man realizes a conduct, for example, the recruitment, with a specific means, the violence, and for a specific purpose, the sexual exploitation. This is an example of human trafficking. I don't want to spend a few more minutes about the criminal law aspects of the criminal offense. I would like just to underline how this international treaty, that is maybe the most important treaty about human trafficking. This international treaty is mainly focused on the prosecution of human trafficking, and this is the point of view that this treaty gives to the states that decide to transfer this treaty on their legislation. That's, for example, what happened in Italy, what happened also in other countries or European countries, and what happened in Sweden, where the Sweden adapted its legislation to the Palermo Convention in 2004 and decided to adapt to the Palermo Convention through the criminal code. And so is evident the point of view of Sweden that took the international normative of the Palermo Convention from a criminal law point of view, and through the law enforcement agency that are in charge of not only of the prosecution of the traffickers, but also are in charge, at least were in charge, of the protection of the victim. But on this point, I would like to give the floor to Claudia, that she is more in the matter than me, in this issue than me. Thank you.
Yes, thank you. I will try to briefly explain what I could study during these 4 years of PhD here in Sweden, and about this narrow and limited vision of trafficking as a global market, and how this criminalization of it play out quite controversially, I would say, when we look at the social protection system for trafficked people in Sweden. And as Riccardo say, the Palermo Protocol and the European Conventions are the main documents that were ratified in Sweden as well. So they are binding documents for Sweden. The Palermo Protocol has been included in the Penal Code of Sweden, while the access to services and protections for the victims of trafficking has been incorporated into existing social welfare systems. So there is no, as in Italy, there is no national plan or referral mechanism that involve deeply and substantially the civil society actors and the NGOs actors in delivering social protection for the trafficked people. So what does it mean? This criminalization of trafficking means that in the practice, the police authority, through preliminary investigations, recognized the situation of trafficking. While, for instance, we know that in Italy there is a lot of outreach activities of NGOs that go in the street and try to talk to people and understand, okay, what are the people that we can help and protect or remove from situation of violence or trafficking or exploitation. In the Swedish case, is the police authority that does this investigation. And so, of course, Sweden then comply with the international law and give this reflection period for the victim of trafficking, where they can get protection and think about collaborating with the judiciary system to catch these criminals that traffic them. But of course, we understand that in reality, if there is the police officers that ask the traffic victim if they want to reflect 6 months, is implying that if they want a protection, they need to collaborate with the police authority. And so this is one of the first negative elements that we can see in Sweden, where the non-cooperation of the victims with the criminal investigation complicate a lot the ways to obtain temporary residence permits and therefore access to social protection. Another further negative element of this narrow vision of trafficking as a criminal offense and global criminal market is that is included in the referral mechanism. National referral mechanism that is a national plan of action that was established in Sweden, is the main document, let's say, where there is the planning of anti-trafficking responses. It is led or coordinated, the anti-trafficking responses, by the Swedish Gender Equality Agency, which is a national authority in Sweden that coordinate the action with the Swedish Persecution Authority, the Swedish Police Authority, and the Swedish Migration Agency. So it's a very top-down type of referral mechanism. And basically, the main aim is to assist the victim of trafficking during the criminal investigation, give them protection, give everything they need as long as they collaborate. But when, let's say, the criminal investigations are over, and then the most proposed option from these authorities to the victim of trafficking is the so-called assisted voluntary return program. Because, of course, if the idea is that the trafficked person has been tricked by these criminal organizations to come to Sweden and then exploited, and they didn't know that they were exploited, of course, then the assumption is that they want to go back home. So in this sense, the methodology used by this national referral mechanism and by these state authorities is to propose the return back home with the support and the planning of it. So because of these two main negative elements that we can find in the Swedish system, then a network of NGOs started to counteract, let's say, or at least lament the great inefficiency of the system. And they reach a point of conflict with state authorities where they are mostly led by faith-based organizations, so religious organizations, Christian organizations, but they are a bunch of 20 different NGOs in Sweden, and they form a national alliance and a national platform in 2015, which is called National Support Program. And it's a civil society platform against human trafficking. And basically, they have a complementary or even a parallel support or protection system beyond what is offered by the public authorities. So this support may entail the offering of safe housing, legal advice, language interpreters, counseling, mental health support, education and training for the victim of trafficking. But I would say one of the main activity of this network is doing actions of lobbying and advocacy with state authorities and with governmental actors. And as of this year, they reached the goal to change or expand a bit this very top-down regulation, and to change the process of behind the reflection period. So as I said before, was the police through investigation that could ask the migration agency how do you say in English, the obtaining of the permit for the trafficked person for 6 months. So now, because of this lobbying of the civil society actor, also social workers in the municipality, through other situations, they might encounter or meet victims of trafficking, and then they could ask the migration agency themselves without going through the police authority for the obtaining of this temporary permit and the reflection period. So something is changing, but the law enforcement lobby, I think, is very much stronger in Sweden, I would say.
Yeah, but I think that that's a very interesting example of how the civil society can react to a strict policy and can try to find a better balance between the needs of the prosecution that are obviously important needs for the society, but also the needs of the protection of the victims. So it's interesting to study and analyze the this Swedish change, because it's an important example of how the civil society can react and do something in order to create a better system where is also involved the social work system. So I think it's very interesting for our project to talk about that.
It is true. It is probably good practice that comes from the struggle met in the system. I would be a bit more no, but I mean, I'm a bit more critical personally in the law and enforcement or criminalization of trafficking, but from a trafficking, like from a migrant perspective, I would say, because in many situations, migrants wanted to maybe move abroad, and that's the only way they can to be exploited and find any type of job in order to migrate instead of having legal access to different global markets.
Yeah, sure. But maybe this could be a discussion for another video.
Yes.
So I would like to thank you all, and thanks also Claudia for a wonderful help in this
Thank you,
research.
Riccardo.
And see you maybe the next time. Bye
Bye bye.
bye.